All right. So in the last class, we discussed about separating the solid mixtures. Okay, we had learned how to separate the solid mixtures. What were the processes that we learned about? That is hand picking.
Sieving, hand picking,
Ma'am, handpicking,
winnowing.
sieving, winnowing, threshing.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
threshing.
Yeah. So hand picking, threshing, winnowing, and sieving. These are the four processes that we learned for separating solid mixtures. Okay. So today we learn how to separate the solid liquid mixtures. How we can separate a mixture which is having both solids as well as liquids. Okay. All right. So we can move on to the next slide. All right. So what are the processes that can separate a solid liquid mixture? So we will be learning about four processes today. That is sedimentation, decantation, filtration, and solvent extraction. Is that clear? All right. So we can move on to the first process of separation, that is sedimentation. All right. Now, what is sedimentation? For example, if you take a mixture of sand and water in a container, okay, and you stir the mixture. After some time, you can see that the sand particles settle at the bottom, okay, and the sand particles form a separate layer than the water. The water comes on top, the sand particles settle at the bottom. So the sand particles that settle at the bottom, that is known as sediment. And this process by which the insoluble substances settle at the bottom, the heavier insoluble substances settle at the bottom, that process is known as sedimentation. Okay, you can take an example of chalk powder and water also. If you stir the mixture, what will happen? The chalk powder eventually will settle at the bottom, forming a sediment, and the water will be on the top. So that process is called sedimentation. All right. Then what is decantation? Decantation is followed by sedimentation. When the sediment settles at the bottom, there is water on the top. So then you can pour that water into another container and separate the sediment completely from the water. Okay, separate the sand or the chalk powder completely from the water. The water, you can see the picture. What do? You are just pouring the water on the top into another container. That is decantation. Okay, for example, we can say that when your mom washes the rice, okay, the rice water, what she does, she pours it away. Okay, so that is decantation. And for example, when she's washing pulses, any kind of dal, when she washes, the water becomes like she has to discard the water, she has to throw away the water. So does she throw the dal and the water, everything? No, she only pours the water out. Okay, so that process is known as decantation. Is sedimentation and decantation clear to y'all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we move on to filtration. Now, what is filtration? Have you heard about filtering water? What is filtration? What do we do in that?
Ma'am, can I say Harshal?
Yes, Harshal, say.
Ma'am, filtration is the process in which we pass water through filter pipe, and ma'am, big impurities, insoluble impurities remain on the filter pipe, and the water goes down from the filter pipe to a container, beaker or container.
Okay, very good. So we use a filter to separate the insoluble particles, okay, from the water. So maybe that is a filter pipe is used, or some kind of a candle type that is called a filter candle. Okay, so that is also used so that they trap the insoluble particles and the pure water passes and we get the pure water. Okay. Now, what is filtration? Filtration is the process of separation of the insoluble solid particles by using a filter paper. You can see the picture on the extreme right hand side. Okay, a filter paper is used. Suppose you'll use a sand and water mixture. Okay, the sand is insoluble in water. You pour the sand and water mixture through the filter paper. What will happen? The sand will remain on the filter paper and the water will pass through the filter paper. Okay, so then you get water separately and sand is remaining back in the filter paper. So that process is known as filtration. You use a filter paper or any kind of a filter. For example, we can also use muslin cloth. You all know thin cloth, which is having a thin cloth, which is used in making dupattas and all, that is called a muslin cloth. Okay, even insoluble particles will be trapped in that. So that can also be used. All right. Now we move on to solvent extraction. Now this is a different process. Now, for example, you take sand and salt, mix it up together. Okay, and then you put it in the water. What will happen? Tell me. Which will dissolve in water and which will not dissolve in water? You have
Ma'am, salt
added.
will dissolve in water and sand will not dissolve.
Okay. Salt will dissolve in water and sand will not dissolve in water. So in that case, we can use a filter paper to separate the sand out. But the salt is soluble in water, so it will not be separated by the filter paper. So we, in the beaker, in the container which we put below the filter paper, so what we get there? We get salt solution because sand is already left over in the filter paper. So we get salt solution. Now, the salt solution, how should we separate? If you heat it, okay, if you heat it, then what will happen?
Then the water will evaporate.
Will evaporate out and the salt will be left behind. All right. So this is how we can, so that process of separating a solute, a soluble, something which is soluble in the liquid, we can separate it by solvent extraction. All right. Have you understood these 4 processes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we move on to the next slide now. All right. So sedimentation, as we discussed before, sedimentation is the separation of insoluble solid particles in a liquid. Okay. When the solid is insoluble and heavier than the liquid, it settles at the bottom.
Yes,
so that process of separation of substances in which the heavier solid particles settle at the bottom and the liquid remains on the top, that is known as sedimentation. Okay. And what is decantation? When you pour the liquid into another container, that is called decantation. Okay, as I told you, when your mom washes rice or pulses, then she discards the water. She removes the water by the process of decantation. Can you see on the right hand side, there's a picture. What is this picture? What is it about? What is the picture about? What does it show?
All the processes, all the solid liquid separation processes are connected to each other.
Okay. Yeah, solid liquid separation processes are connected to each other. It's a water treatment plant.
Water treatment plant.
Yeah, it is a water treatment plant. Okay. So we'll discuss this water treatment plant after we discussing all the 4 processes. All right. So you understood sedimentation and decantation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we move on to the next slide now. Yeah. So this is filtration. Now in filtration, as we already learned, we already discussed that the insoluble solid particles, okay, they are retained back. They are left back in the filter paper. Okay, and we receive, we get pure, we get water, or we get the liquid, which is pure. Okay, so that is called the filtrate. The liquid that we get, the clear liquid that we are getting, that is called the filtrate. We can use a muslin cloth or a filter paper to separate the insoluble solid particles from the liquid. Okay, when tea leaves are strained from tea, that is also a type of filtration. When the tea leaves, they are strained from the tea. Okay, so we are using a sieve kind of a thing, a filter kind of a thing, that is separating the tea leaves from the tea. So that is also a kind of filtration. Why we cannot call it sieving, tell me?
Ma'am, because sieving is done only in the dry particles or solid
Yeah.
particles, whereas filtration is done with liquid and solid molecules.
Yes, very good, Aniha. So sieving is only done with a solid mixture, but filtration is done with a solid and liquid mixture. All right. Therefore, we cannot call it sieving. Though the tea strainer looks like a sieve, we will not call it sieving. All right. So filtration is also used in the water treatment plant. Okay, it is used to purify the water. The water that we get at our homes is purified water. Okay, and we can also use different like sand, gravel, and all to purify the water. By that process is known as filtration. All right. So we move on to the next slide. Then we will come back to the water treatment plant. All right. See, now what is solvent extraction? In this example, they have made a mixture of sulfur, salt, and water. So there are three things that are mixed together: sulfur, salt, and water. Now, sulfur is insoluble in water. Okay, so we can separate out the sulfur with the help of a filter paper. And what goes into the container? Salt water or salt solution. And then we evaporate, we heat the salt solution, the water gets evaporated out and the salt remains back. So that is solvent extraction. Okay, solvent extraction is a method of separating an solvent extraction is a method of separating a soluble substance from the liquid. Okay, which is soluble. So we separate a soluble substance from a liquid. We cannot separate a soluble substance from a liquid by using a filter paper. So we need to do evaporation. With the help of a liquid, we are separating the soluble substance from it by heating it, and the water gets evaporated and the salt remains back. All right. Is
Yes,
our
ma'am.
process
Yes,
clear to
ma'am.
everyone?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we move on to the water treatment plant now. Yeah. See, you all can see at the top. So water is coming from a water body. Okay. It can be a river or any water body. It is coming from a water body. Then there is a process called coagulation. Now, what is coagulation? Coagulation is a process in which a chemical is added. A chemical substance is added to the water, which pulls all the impurities to it. For example, have you seen that advertisement, the charcoal face wash advertisement?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
On TV? What do they show in that advertisement? Tell me, children.
Ma'am, they
Ma'am,
show
that the charcoal
that the
extract
charcoal
or
will
river.
absorb all the impurities and all the
Yeah, the
dirt
charcoal.
from our face.
Yes, the charcoal is absorbing all the impurities. Okay, it is pulling all the impurities together so that the face will be free of impurities. So in the same way, coagulation means addition of a chemical substance, okay, which pulls all the impurities and makes it and clogs it together so that the water will be separated and the impurities will get separated. So that is coagulation, okay. Then the coagulated water along with the impurities are all attracted to each other. They form a lump, they form a mass. Then they move, then you all can see they move, okay. When they move, there are three containers. There what happens, the sedimentation takes place. You can see there is a big tank. The water passes through that, okay, and there's a big tank where the sedimentation takes place. What is sedimentation, tell me?
Ma'am, sedimentation is when the heavy particles, the heavy impurities settle at the bottom of water.
Yes. So here you all can see in that big tank, what is happening? The impurities are settling at the bottom. When the water is passing, the impurities are settling at the bottom. The brown colored thing, they are the impurities, and the water passes. So when the water is settling, that is known, when the impurities are settling down, that is known as sedimentation. But when the clear water is moving, what process is that called? It is moving. Yes, it is known as decantation. So the clear water is moving through a pipe. You all can see from that big tank, the clear water is moving through a pipe. So that process is known as decantation. Okay, it is not mentioned, but that process is known as decantation.
Yes, ma'am.
Then it moves into two chambers. Okay, those two chambers are having a filter. So the clear water is moving through the filter now. If there is any other impurities present, because whenever we do decantation, there is a possibility that the substance which is settled at the bottom, some of those substances also come up with the water. So there is a possibility that the water is not entirely clear. Okay. So then a filter can be used. So the filter separates all the substances, all the impurities, and the clear water passes. You can see the two chambers from which the clear water passes, and it comes. So that process is known as filtration. Okay. Then it comes, and it is then it goes through a process called disinfection. Now disinfection.
Ma'am, is chlorine used for disinfection?
Yes, chlorine can be used for disinfection. Okay. And there are also other chemicals in the water treatment plant. There are also other chemicals that are used for disinfection to remove something which is not seen, like bacteria and all. That cannot be seen. That is very, very small. But still, there are lot of microorganisms, lot of very tiny organisms present in the water. Okay. No, alum is a coagulant. It will coagulate, like in the first step which coagulation is used, alum is a coagulant. Okay. And chlorine is a disinfectant. Yes, Daksh, any doubt?
Ma'am, last year for the field trip, we had visited a water treatment plant, and there we had seen that they used UV lights to kill the bacteria.
What is used?
UV lights.
Okay, UV light. Yeah, in a water treatment plant, many different kinds of chemicals or rays also can be used. Okay, so microorganisms, since they cannot be seen with the naked eye, and but still they are present in the water. So we can use different kinds of chemicals in order to remove them from the water. All right. So that process is known as disinfection. All right, that is known as disinfection.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Any doubt?
Now means disinfection and chlorination are the same processes in which chlorine is added to purify the water.
Yeah. See, chlorine is basically not used on a very large scale. Okay. We can use on a large scale, it might be also used. I'm not very sure about that, but yes, that is the same process. That is disinfection only. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then after that it moves, the water moves through the disinfection process. All the germs are killed, and then it is stored. Okay, the storage you all can see, then the clear water is stored there. So then we can obtain it when we require it. Is this process, water treatment process, clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now we move on to the activities then.
Ma'am, may I add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, as Ariha mentioned, from Pituket, we had gone for a field trip last year, and we had taken our students to the water treatment plant. And what we observed there was uh, a couple of different types of disinfection techniques they had used. One is by adding chlorine. Now, because that water treatment plant was a bottled, like a mineral water plant, distillery kind of a plant, they were packaging drinking water. So they used chlorine on the first level. So what happens with chlorine, what we learned in the plant was that the chlorine kills all the pathogens or the microorganisms which are present in the water. Okay, and because it was drinking water, it was very important to dechlorinate the water, because consumption of chlorine can be harmful for the human body. So after they do the chlorination, they again dechlorinate that water, and they then pass that water through UV chamber, wherein all the what chlorine does is it kills the bacteria which is present in the water. Okay, but still that dead microorganism is in the water, it is not removed. So then there is again microfiltration, and then they pass it through UV light, UV chamber, where again the second level of disinfection takes place. So when you're buying a bottle of Bisleri from the store, it has gone through multiple levels of disinfection. Okay, so I just wanted, this is just for students' information.
Yeah. Oh,
Ma'am,
yes, any doubt?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, Daksh, you can say.
Ma'am, I was asking that, ma'am, if we have a mixture of sugar, salt, and chalk powder, ma'am, how will we separate all the things?
Sugar, salt, and chalk powder.
Chalk
Yeah,
powder.
that is another process. We will learn that in the next. Learn that in the next class. Okay. For now, it's not coming under this process. All right. That is separated by another process called crystallization, called distillation. All right. We will learn that in the next class. Okay. So we move on to the activities. So the first activity is sedimentation. What you'll have to do is, you'll take a container. All of you put your videos on. Okay, you all need to take a container, add mud or sand to it, and add water.
Ma'am, how much water we have to pour?
You all can fill your container half with water. and stir it.
Ma'am, like this.
All of you can put your videos on. Yes, Ariha, show me.
Ma'am, like this.
Yeah. Stir it. Give it a stir and keep it aside. Leave it undisturbed for some time.
Yes, ma'am.
First of I'll be seeing everyone's container with the muddy water. Okay, it should look like this.
Ma'am, like this.
Like what?
Ma'am, brown color.
Yes, yes. It will look like that.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am,
Then
it is
leave.
brown color.
Ma'am, is this okay?
Who's asking?
Ma'am,
This much.
Yes, Arina. Yes, that is okay. You can leave it aside for some time. Okay? It will take some time, then you all can observe the difference.
Okay.
But give it a stir first. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
And leave it aside. Then you all can observe after some time. If you all can see a difference, if you all can see there's a difference between the sand or the mud and the water. You all can keep it aside, okay?
Ma'am, what we have to do now?
Keep it aside. Siddharth, you keep it aside. Yes, I saw it. You can keep it aside.
Ma'am, I
Jay, have you done it?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I don't have soil.
You don't have?
Ma'am, I don't have soil.
You don't have soil. Okay, then you cannot carry out the experiment because you need soil or sand.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, the sedimentation process is taking place.
Okay. I'll see. Okay. When it takes place, when it's done, someone you all can tell me.
The soil is set at the bottom of the container.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Soil
Ma'am,
is settled down.
I can see that there's a layer there's a layer of soil at the bottom.
There's a layer of soil at the bottom and there is water on the top.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it is correct.
Who is that? Dhyan?
Bhavendra.
Okay, Bhavendra. Yes, Bhavendra. That's correct. See, children, what you have to do, only give it a stir 2 to 3 times, that's it, and leave it aside. Otherwise, you all are not going to observe sedimentation. You all don't have to continue stirring it. Okay?
Ma'am.
Ma'am, the mud
Yes.
settled.
Yes, ma'am.
The mud settle down. Okay. So you all can see a layer of mud that settles at the bottom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am, mine got it settled.
Yeah. Yes, Ariha. That's correct.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, this one.
Yes, Dhyan. So can we see everyone's sedimentation? Arya Deshpande. Who is that?
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute.
Ma'am, my one.
I'll come to everyone. Okay. All right. Yes. Visible. That the water has separated out from the mud. Okay, means the mud has settled down. All right. Aditya,
Yes, ma'am.
can you show us what have you done?
Ma'am, I do not have sand.
Okay. Aarti,
Ma'am, I also don't have soil.
okay. Daksh,
Yes, ma'am, I am having. Ma'am, my one solution.
can you show us?
Ma'am,
Okay. Okay. Allow it to settle for some time. All right. Then Dhyan, have you shown us? Yeah, Dhyan we have seen. Ariha, Bhavendra and Dhyan we have seen this. Jayant,
Ma'am, it's still settling. This is the.
okay. Yes, we can observe it. That
It has
there is a
settled.
difference between, it's not settled completely, but yes, almost done. Yeah. Joita,
Ma'am, I also filter now.
can you show it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Jyoti, Jyoti, who is Jyoti?
Ma'am, she's ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then Kamlakshi,
Ma'am, I don't have sand.
all right. Nilesh,
Ma'am, I don't have soil.
Siddhant,
Yes, ma'am.
Siddhant, can you
Yes,
show
ma'am.
it?
Yes, ma'am. I am showing on camera.
Okay. All right. Who is Sita?
Ma'am, our ma'am.
Okay. Ved and Yashasri. Who is Ved?
Ma'am, his name is Himanshu.
Okay. Himanshu. Who's Himanshu? Have you done the experiment, Himanshu? Yashasri. Okay. So now what we can do is, you all have observed a layer of mud that is settled at the bottom. You all can see water at the top. Now you all can do the process of decantation. Now we move on to the next experiment, that is decantation. Okay. So what you'll have to do, you'll have to, okay. See, after this, all right, the next experiment is solvent extraction. All right. So then what we can do is, see, we need, have you all collected a funnel?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can see it.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is my
How many of
funnel.
y'all?
Yes, ma'am, I have it.
How many?
Yes, ma'am. I also have it.
Those
How
who
many
don't
of
have a funnel can cut out a bottle, the top of a Bisleri bottle or a Pepsi bottle, and use it like a funnel.
Cut the top of a
tissue paper
Bisleri
everyone has,
bottle.
right?
Yes, ma'am, I have tissue paper.
Ma'am, I also have tissue paper in funnel.
You all can use tissue paper, okay?
No, ma'am. I don't have tissue paper because I take this.
Okay, that. Bhavendra, do you have a muslin cloth?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then you cannot carry out this experiment. Okay? Because
Ma'am, we have to bring
Ma'am, what you have to say? Ma'am, what you have to say?
Ma'am, we can also do this experiment with a handkerchief.
yeah, that's it.
Ma'am, but we can take the tissue paper for it.
Tissue paper also you all can use. You all can use a very thin hanky also. Okay? Not a thick one, a thin one.
Ma'am,
See, Bhavendra, what you can do is, on top of your tea strainer, you can put a handkerchief. That will work out. A thin one.
Okay.
I have a tissue paper.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I am also having tissue paper.
Okay. So give me 1 second. Okay. So what are the things that you'll need is, you'll need salt, you'll need water, mud, another container, you'll need a funnel. If you don't have funnel, any other alternative can work, like a tea strainer as Bhavendra used. You'll need a filter paper. If you all don't have a filter paper, you all can use tissue paper or a very thin handkerchief. All right, are these things ready? Yes, that will work. So you all now the container that you all see, you all lessen the water. Lessen the water in the container. And you all can add salt to it. Okay? And give it a stir.
Ma'am, what we have to do? Ma'am, what we have to do?
Ma'am, I don't understand.
You all have already done sedimentation process also.
Yes,
In that
ma'am.
container, you all add salt. In that container, you all add salt. But see, somebody was using a big bucket. Don't do it in that big bucket. You all can lessen the water. Okay? A small container, and you all can add salt to it.
Ma'am,
Sorry.
Ma'am, can I add salt in this?
Show me. Don't use a large amount of water.
Ma'am, what we have to do?
See, you all just now you all conducted this experiment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What you all had added? Tell me. What you all had added?
Ma'am,
Can you repeat this?
Ma'am, we added salt.
No, what you all had added in the sedimentation process?
ma'am, we had added mud and water.
Ma'am, I added salt to this container.
Yeah. So now in that container, you all can just add salt. Other things are already there. Water is there, mud is there. You all can add salt to it. Okay? Yeah. So that's the container you can add salt.
Ma'am, we have to add all salt.
All salt means at least, see, y'all just have to observe how it is done, because so can they carry out the solvent extraction? Because they need to heat it.
Ma'am, I have only this much salt.
See, y'all can use at least 2 tablespoons of salt, but then you'll have to heat it. So
Ma'am, but
you'll
I
use
don't have salt.
Will they be able to carry out that experiment?
Ma'am, I will be able to heat my beaker. Then we have to
You'll be able to.
It's a glass, ma'am. Borosilicate glass. We have to stir it.
Yeah. See, what you will do now, this one, you'll stir it, add at least 2 tablespoons of salt to it. You'll have already done it.
Ma'am, we have to add mud also.
Yeah, mud was already there, right? When you all did the sedimentation process, the mud was already there. In that beaker only, in that container only, you'll have to add salt.
Ma'am, but I have soil.
Ma'am, something like this.
Those who don't have soil cannot carry out this experiment. Yeah, you'll have added salt to it. Now you will
Yes, ma'am.
pass it through the tissue paper. See, okay, you'll pass it through the tissue paper and the funnel like this. Observe what happens. Are you all doing the filtration process?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
I'll be seeing, okay, how you all have done it.
Jaini Ramama.
Can you all see? The water that is obtained in the other container.
Let's see.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it is taking time to come out.
Yeah, it is taking time to come out. See, what you all can do is, you all can just give a little stir. Like this.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am.
It will be okay. Ma'am, ma'am, I have wet soil. It will be okay for the use.
Yes, any soil. It will be okay.
Ma'am, the water has filtered.
The water
Filtered.
filters. Okay. Can you all observe? See the difference between the water color. Can you all see a difference between the water that you are putting on top of the
Yes, ma'am.
and the water?
Ma'am, the water is looking very clean.
Ma'am,
Yes, it's looking very clean. Okay.
Ma'am,
So this is how filtration works.
ma'am, the mud is coming to the container and the water is coming.
ma'am,
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, it was network issue because I left the meeting. Can you repeat?
Yeah. See, you have to do the filtration process now. What you have to do, you have to take a funnel, a tissue paper, 2 beakers, 2 containers. Okay. In one container, what you have? What are the things that you have kept ready? Tell me.
What the filter?
Ma'am, alum, chalk powder, 2 containers, and water. And
Soil? Are you having soil?
no, ma'am. इस मैम इसमें डाल दिया मैंने.
Soil है तुम्हारे पास?
Ma'am, I have pour in this container and water and salt.
Okay, what am I asking? Do you have soil? No.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in one container you add soil, salt, and water. Have you done that?
Added.
Okay.
I have added.
Then you take a funnel and you take a tissue
Yes,
paper. Take a funnel and a
Yes,
tissue
ma'am.
paper. And you.
Ma'am, I don't have tissue paper. Can I take this? It is very thin.
What is that?
Ma'am, it is a tissue paper like thread.
Show me. Show me again. What is that?
Ma'am, it is a thread.
Okay, that will take a long time. That is little bit thick, I can see.
Ma'am, can I
Do
use
you have
strainer?
a very thin handkerchief? Do you have a very thin handkerchief?
Yes, ma'am.
Go bring it.
Ma'am, I
Ma'am,
have.
can you see mine? Ma'am, can you see mine?
Who's asking?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, this
Yes,
is the
ma'am, I have
tissue
ringed.
paper after the filtration. The tissue paper.
Ma'am, I have ringed.
Ma'am, the whole process. All the water has come in the container.
Okay. All right.
Ma'am, I have ringed.
Ma'am, can
You
you see
have?
my instruction?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yeah. When you open this, you have to tell us names. I cannot know who is. Who is that? Who spoke now?
Ma'am, your voice is echo.
My voice is echoing.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it echoing for everyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. There might be some network issue. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
that's all we have to do.
So have you done? Can you show me the filtered water?
Yes, ma'am.
Show it to me.
Ma'am, this is the filtered water.
See, I'm one by one. Show it to me. Arya, Aditya.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have to pour this water to an funnel.
Who is asking?
Ma'am, this is
Bhavendra.
the water.
Yeah, Bhavendra.
Ma'am, after filtration, this is clean water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Arya. All right.
Ma'am, this is the water after filtration.
Jayant, show me.
Ma'am, this is the water after filtration.
Okay. All right. Bhavendra, show me.
Ma'am, this is the water of the filtration.
Okay. After filtration, is that the water, Bhavendra? It looks quite muddy. Show me.
Yes.
Ma'am, the water is looking still muddy.
Yes, it is
Ma'am, the
still
small
looking.
Ma'am, the water looks like this.
Okay, yeah, Jayan, that's okay. See how it will look.
Mine
Can
looks like this.
see this
Yes,
water
ma'am.
Ma'am,
and water.
ma'am, the filtered
Okay,
water looks like this.
the filtered water, how does it look? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Ma'am,
Siddharth,
ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Siddharth, show me
Yes,
your filtered water.
ma'am. The glass is not transparent,
What did you say?
but it is filtered.
Okay, the glass is not transparent. Okay. All right. No, I cannot see it. Okay, Daksh. Everyone show it to me voluntarily.
Ma'am, 2 minutes.
Okay. Others who have completed it, y'all can say your names and I'll see it.
Parva.
I'm
Who has
Ariha.
completed the experiment?
Ma'am, I am Vishakha.
Okay. Yeah, Ariha.
Parva.
Okay. Yes, Ariha, that is correct. All right.
Ma'am,
Who else?
ma'am, Parva.
Okay, Parva, show me.
Ma'am, I had on my
Show me your experiment.
ma'am, I had on my camera. Ma'am, this is the mud
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
this
can
is
see
the
it.
water.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Anyone else who has done the experiment? Shall we move on to the solvent extraction now?
Ma'am, my work is completed.
All of you must have done this experiment, right?
Ma'am, I done
Now we can move on to solvent extraction. Okay.
Ma'am, wait a second, wait a second. The transparent glass.
Ma'am, now it is filtered.
Yes. Okay.
Ma'am, now do we have to
Ma'am?
heat it?
Now, yes. Now you have to heat that water. But see, be very careful. Those who are using steel containers can heat it, but you'll have to go to your kitchen and heat it.
Ma'am, I
With the help of the tongs. You'll have to use tongs. Take the help of your mother to heat it. Don't carry it out yourself. Take the help of someone who is there beside you.
Ma'am, we have to
Yeah,
heat
so
this.
Nicola ma'am, I think the last part, the the boiling and evaporation part of it, they can carry out after the class,
Yeah.
Ma'am,
so that they don't
Okay,
rush
fine.
into heating it. They can do it aram se.
Okay, fine. All right, you'll keep that water. You'll just see what I'm doing.
Ma'am, what?
Can
Ma'am,
you
what
see?
you have?
Just give me 1 second, okay? Just let me.
Yes. Not visible. Here.
ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, my filter part is ready. I can show you.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Okay.
Ma'am, Aarti.
See, Aarti, I cannot see actually the place where you are is very, very dark. I cannot see the water, how it looks. Can you come
Ma'am,
somewhere where, yes, now it's visible. So, what are you showing? That is that the filtered water?
yeah, ma'am.
Okay, it looks quite muddy. What have you used to filter the water?
Ma'am, I use that strainer.
What did you use?
Ma'am, I have funnel and
Some,
paper.
no,
Okay,
for that tea.
you can try it out once more, okay? Because the water looks quite muddy. See the water here? The water which is not filtered will look how you are showing it. That kind of a water, this is unfiltered water. But the filtered water will look nearer to that.
We have to do now.
Yeah, you all can observe what happens, okay? I'm just heating this beaker. See, what you all can do, you all can carry out the experiment after class. This will take a lot of time, okay? And you all can heat the water, and you all can in the next class I'll be asking you all whether you all have got the salt or not. Clear? All of you all can do it after class. This will take some time, and we are already running out of time. Can you all carry it out? The filtered heat it. Okay? In the next class, I'll be asking you whether you all have obtained the salt. So we can move on to the next activity now. Okay? We have already carried out this experiment. We can move on to the next activity. Okay, filtration using alum.
Hello.
I can set this aside, let it heat.
Hello.
At the end of the class, let me see if I can show you the result.
Ma'am, we have to take alum.
Ma'am, what we have to do now?
Wait, 1 second. Just give me a minute. All right. So now we can move. You have to one stick, or you can tie thread, and you can tie alum. Who has alum? All of you have alum?
No, ma'am, I don't have it. No.
Yes, ma'am.
See, those who have alum, you all can take muddy water. Okay, I have already taken it. Muddy water, and you all can tie alum to the thread. You all can tie alum to the thread. All right, and you all can put the alum into the water.
Ma'am,
After some time, can you all see separation of the layers of mud and water?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you all will observe that, but the alum will take some time for this to happen. You all have to keep your alum in the water for some time. Tie alum. See, I have already tied. Can you see the alum?
Ma'am, your video is frozen and now it is visible.
Yeah, can you see the alum which is tied?
Ma'am, your screen is very blurred.
Ma'am, I can
Can you
see it.
see it
I
now?
Ma'am, we have to mix it.
You'll tie it with a thread, okay? And you'll put it into the beaker of muddy water. Put it into the container of muddy water and keep it like that for some time. After some time, you will see that there is a separation of the mud and the water. Okay? What is alum? Alum is a coagulant. It separates the mud from the water. All right? All of y'all can do it, and I'll ask you all about the result in the next class. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't have alum. They
It will take some time. You'll have to keep it like that. Then you will see a separation of the mud and the water.
Ma'am, we can't see the picture clearly. Your picture.
अच्छा ह्याच्यात काय होतं?
Is it clear now?
No, ma'am. It's still very hazy.
Still hazy?
Ma'am, it is visible, but it is freezing in the middle, and also it is a little blurry.
काय पकडू?
So see, all of y'all can observe it for yourself. Okay? Put the atom in water and then observe what is the difference between sedimentation and coagulation. Means when you add alum to it. All right? Any doubts regarding today's topic?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Anyone? Any doubts? No? So y'all can note down 2 questions. All of y'all quickly bring your notebook and note down 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Write down what is the principle behind. What is the principle behind?
Ma'am, I want to ask you one thing. Ma'am, why did the chalk powder? What we have to do it with the chalk powder?
See, chalk powder can be used instead of soil. Okay, you can use chalk powder instead of soil. How you all mixed soil in water? In the same way, you all can mix chalk powder in water. Okay, so that can be used as an alternative to soil. Yes, write down the question. What is the principle behind?
Ma'am, this is the first question.
Sedimentation. Yes, that's the first question. What is the principle behind sedimentation?
Ma'am, can you
Decantation.
repeat it again?
What is the principle behind sedimentation?
What is the principle
Decantation. Behind sedimentation. Decantation.
sediment? Ma'am,
Filtration. Sedimentation, decantation, filtration, and solvent extraction.
Decantation, preparation.
Sedimentation, decantation, filtration, and solvent extraction.
Filtration. And
4 processes we learned today, right? Sedimentation, decantation, filtration, and solvent extraction. Have you all noted down the first question?
Yes, ma'am.
Second question. What are the practical applications of? What are the practical applications of
what are the
practical applications of sedimentation,
sedimentation,
decantation,
decantation,
solvent extraction, and filtration?
Ma'am, can you tell the spelling solventation?
What is that? Spelling.
Yeah, ma'am.
SOLVENT. Solvent.
SOLVE.
NT.
Ma'am, can you repeat the
Extraction.
question?
What are the practical applications of these four processes? Okay, what we studied today. That is sedimentation, decantation, filtration, and solvent extraction. Have you all noted it down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In the next class, we'll discuss these answers. All right?
Yes,
Ma'am, only
ma'am.
2?
Yeah, only 2.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.